What is up, guys? This is Nightmare, and today I'm going to be showing you all how to make your own Stamina Nightblade build for the Morrowind patch. So to start off, first thing you're going to be looking at whenever you make a build is what weapon types you want to use. Now there are 3 different options you can use for a Stamina Nightblade. Your first option, which is the most common, is going to be a 2H and bow setup. You can also use a 2H and dual wield setup. Now, the benefit of running dual wield is you're going to get that extra armor or weapon slot, so you can have an extra crafted set or set slot. Also, you can run 2H and sword and board. Sword and board because if you want to be a little bit more tanky, the light attack, surprise attack bash, or light attack puncture bash, same thing. So that's usually the first thing you want to look at. And that's the first thing I do whenever I make a new build is, do I want to use dual wield or am I going to stick with 2H and bow? 2H being a two-handed weapon. Now, why is two-handed weapons mandatory for each setup? The reason is because the ability that you're going to be using is Rally. Now, Rally is going to give you a heal over time, a burst heal, and your major brutality buff. And this is very important. Unless there's a class, the Warden, that can get this buff and get enough heals, burst heals, in another way, the 2H is mandatory. Alright, so next let's go over your gear choices. Now, when I make my builds, and what you should do when you make your builds, is look at your gear options. What different setups can I combine together? What synergizes well together? So, keeping that in mind, we want to use one set, 5-piece set, to give us sustain. This is very important, especially with Morrowind. You have to have stamina, resource, sustain. Running out of stamina, you won't be able to kill anybody. If you're running 2 5-piece sets or 2 sets that are giving you all damage, you're not going to be able to sustain your stamina. So, 1 5-piece set, or a 3-piece set or 2-piece set, whatever combination you want to do, needs to be dedicated to stamina recovery or stamina sustain. Then you want to combo that with a damage set. So this is my nocturnal build. This is what I'm going to be using to demonstrate. The nocturnal builds uses 5 marksman and 5 hunting's rage. This is going to be keeping both 5-piece bonuses on both bars. The reason for that is we want the 5-piece bonus reduced cost on our 2H bar, and then our marksman set is also giving us 2 and 3-piece stam recovery. Some other options you can use for sustained sets, the most common and the strongest sustained set is going to be Bone Pirate. Now, Bone Pirate is going to give you more max stamina, a lot more recovery, and I believe it gives weapon damage. Now, with Bone Pirate, you have to keep that active on both bars. Now, if I wanted to, I wouldn't have to use marksman on both bars. I could just use it on my bow bar. I would still get my recovery bonuses on both bars. I would just lose the reduced cost on the 2H bar. So, Bone Pirate is your first choice for recovery set. Next, you got Marksman. Like I explained here, you get the reduced cost on top of 2 stamina recovery bonuses. After that, you get Eternal Hunt. Now, Eternal Hunt is going to be a little bit more defensive. You're going to get the same 2 and 3-piece stamina recovery bonuses, but you're also going to get the dodge roll setting down a little trap. So that's going to give you good sustain, just as much as Marksman pretty much, but it's going to be a little bit more defensive, whereas Marksman is going to be a little bit more sustain and a little bit more damage from the bow. And then if you don't want any of those 3, there's a 4th choice. You can also run Coward's Gear. Now, Coward's Gear is going to give you the same as 2 3-piece stam recovery. So that's very good. That's going to give us good sustain. And then the 5-piece bonus is going to give us good defensive and good utility. Now, Defensive is going to be whenever you sprint, you can get major protection. And whenever you... I think I have a piece of it. No, okay. So sprinting, whenever you sprint, you're going to get major expedition. And whenever you sprint, you're also going to get major protection, which reduces incoming damage by 30%. So that's also very good. Now that's 4 sets that you can use. 4 sustain sets. You can mix match whatever that you want with whatever damaging set, or you can run 2 sustain sets if you choose to. I wouldn't really recommend it, because that would be a little bit overkill on sustain, but that is okay if you choose to do that. But there are also other sets besides those 4 sets I just talked about. If you find any other set that you think is going to give you just as great a sustain in PvP as these 4 sets, usually what I look for is, does it have at least 2 stamina recovery bonuses, and then the 5th piece bonus, is it going to be defensive or a little bit more resource management or whatever. Now, one sustain set that I would not recommend for PvP is Vicious Ophidian, or the Vicious Serpent set. That is not a sustain set. That is not a PvP set at all, in matter of fact. 2 pieces crit chance, 4 pieces crit chance. The 3-piece bonus is going to give you increased damage on monsters. That's PvE wise. That's not going to increase your sustain or damage in PvP. So that 3-piece bonus is complete garbage. And then 5 piece is just going to give you a little bit of extra stamina return on kills. If you're fighting a tanky target or a healer, you're going to be burning through your stamina. You're not going to have any stamina recovery, and you're only going to get that stamina back once you get a kill. Not a sustained set. Okay, so next, damaging sets. So here I have Hunting's Rage. If you choose to not use proc sets, which proc sets are still very strong in non-champion points, campaigns, or battlegrounds, if you choose to use non-proc sets, such as Hunting's Rage, this is going to give us lots of weapon damage. You can also choose to use Viper, which is a proc set, which, like I said, is going to be very strong in non-CP. Maxing out your weapon damage or max stam or whatever is very strong in champion point campaign, however. And then there are also other sets that you can use besides Viper and Hunting's Rage. Anything you find that is going to give you very good damaging numbers is something you can use for your damage set. Another one could be Hulking Draugr, which gives you lots and lots of max stamina. Now, max stamina is good because heals scale off of max stamina more than they scale off of weapon damage. Okay, so now let's compare Hunting's Rage to Viper, since those are 2 very big sets. Viper is a proc set, Hunting's Rage is just a straight up weapon damage set. Okay, so our 2, 3, and 4 piece are going to be the exact same on Viper and Hunting's Rage. However, Viper is going to give us that proc every 4 seconds. Hunting's Rage is going to give us 300 weapon damage. Now, why is this balanced? In my opinion, this is still balanced because Viper isn't getting that extra weapon damage. So, as long as they're not every 4 seconds, they won't have that extra poison damage proccing. Also, heals don't scale off of your poison damage proc. They're going to scale off of weapon damage. So your Hunting's Rage is going to give you more healing, and it's going to give you more consistent damage output compared to Viper. Viper's going to be, of course, very strong for initial hitting, one-shotting people, stuff like that. Bursting targets is where Viper shines. But you're going to lose out on that healing. Hunting's Rage is going to give you more consistent damage and more healing to yourself. Alright, so that is one thing you can do with your damaging sets and then your sustained sets. Now, I have my 2 5-piece bonuses active on both bars. If you choose to have, let's say, I wanted to have my Hunting's Rage active on one bar, so 5 pieces of Hunting's Rage on one bar, and then my 5-piece Marksman on the other, so then I have it open slot. Now I can run a 2-piece monster set. Right now, since I have 2 5-piece sets, I have room for 1 monster set, or I could run Maelstrom weapons if you choose to. But one-piece monster set, so I choose to go with the weapon damage, or you can go with a stam recovery if you're lacking sustain. So for monster sets, If you get 2 open slots, if you choose to go that route that I just explained, you can have a head and shoulder monster piece. Now, if you want raw damage, you could go with 1 Kina and 1 Veladreth. That's going to give you the most weapon damage stat-wise. If you want more proc damage, more AoE damage, Veladreth is also very strong. Now, most single target damage is going to be your Selene. Everybody knows that Selene and Viper is very OP. But if you choose to just bump up your weapon damage as much as you can, and you have 2 open slots for monster set, Kina and Veladreth is very strong, or any combination that you choose. Before, I remember Kina and Bloodspawn used to be very strong because you would get the weapon damage, you get the recovery, and then you would run a 5-piece set, and then you could run like 3-piece agility. That's another very old school way of setting up your builds. But I've started running with 2 5-piece sets and then like a 1-piece set or a 2-piece set if I have room for it, and that seems to just be so much stronger to get a huge 5-piece bonus. Alright, so that kind of goes through your your gear choices and how you want to set up for your weapons and why you choose all those things. So now let's look at some skills that you definitely want to make sure you have when you run your Stamina Nightblade. That would be, first off, Ambush. Ambush is very important no matter what. This is going to allow you to just gap close and stick to your targets. Now when I say gap close, what do I mean? Gap closing is, well, closing the gap between your target. As you can see there, 22-meter range. Now instead of me having to sprint all the way up to the target and try to catch up to him, let's say someone's at that yellow mushroom thing right there. I just press my ambush and I teleport or quickly dash to the target instead of having to sprint there. So gap closers are very important for stamina builds that are using melee damage. Now, if you're using primary a bow build, you don't necessarily need a gap closer. In fact, you want something to keep your distance. Okay, so ambush is a very great ability. If you don't use ambush, you can also use crit rush or crit charge. Now that's going to give you a little bit more damage, but ambush is just a little bit more, I don't know, how do you say it, just unique for Stamina Nightblade. It gives you a teleport, like you blink from one place to another, where crit rush is like a very fast dash, if that makes sense. Alright, so everyone's gonna know to use surprise attack. Now, why is surprise attack so strong though, and what sets it apart from Nightblades from other stamina classes? Now, that would be surprise attack. All the other classes have to use uppercut or dizzying swing. Now, dizzying swing is going to give you a hard CC, but this hits just as hard. It's instant cast, whereas dizzying swing you have to charge up for a second. This is immediate damage, no cast time. It's going to give you a shadow ability, which increases your max health. It also increases your physical and spell resistance, while also reducing the enemy's physical and spell resistance. It's just perfect. You cannot pass surprise attack up. If you're using dizzying swing on a Stamina Nightblade, you're just doing it wrong. Next, Mass Hysteria is another very great ability. This is your hard CC. Now, hard CC is a hard crowd control ability. Now, there are hard CCs and soft CCs. Soft CCs can be stacked, and you can put them on every second if you choose to. Whereas the hard CC, once you hit them with this, they're going to get a little swirling white circle under their feet. They cannot be hard CC'd again until that immunity runs off, and it's about 6 or 7 seconds, I believe. So ideally, you want to be hitting them with a hard CC as soon as that CC immunity runs off. And Mass Hysteria just happens to be one of the freaking strongest hard CCs in the game. You can hit this on 3 enemies, and it's a fear, which means it goes through block. And I believe it also can be hit while they dodge roll. So, and it's more than just a stun. It kind of makes them like run away from you, so you can get them out of position or whatever. Now, also, what you want to look for is an execute. Now, executes can be brought up in many different ways. And why is an execute very important? This is just going to secure kills for you. Once you get them low, you can hit them with your execute, and that's going to just guarantee you a kill. Now, reverse slice is when you can choose. This is a good splash damage. The other morph of this is executioner, which just gives you more damage. And then if you choose to go with killer's blade, this is just going to be a little bit more pickier. This can be hit with by above 50 or about 50 or below. This is like 25%, but usually when you swing your execute ability anyways, they're below 25% health. But this just ensures that it's going to do more damage if, let's say, they're at 26% health. Killer's blade isn't going to do that much, whereas reverse slice is still going to do a lot of damage. So that's why I went with that one. But you can go with whatever you want again. Remember, this is your build. I'm just showing you the abilities that you definitely want to take into consideration to use. Rally, that's just a must. You have to take Rally. There's no other choice. And then End Cap for your ultimate. End Cap, pretty much every Stamina Nightblade will use it. However, you can also use Dawnbreaker Smiting if you're Zerg busting or whatever. And then you have a lot of utility on your back bar, whatever you choose to use. If you're using dual wield, you'll usually have your 2H as your back bar, and your dual wield is your main damaging bar. But my bow bar is going to be my pretty much my utility bar. Cloak, you can use it or not. Vigor is going to be another great heal. You can cross that heal in no other way. So Vigor is definitely going to be recommended. Rally and Vigor are going to be the two things keeping you alive. And then Relentless Focus is just going to give you stamina recovery, extra damage. You can also go with Reaper's Mark, or not Reaper's Mark. The other morph of Reaper's Mark is going to pull people out of stealth pretty much. You can go with Blur, the morph of Blur over Shuffle if you choose to. Shadow Image is also a lot of fun to use. And then the other morph of Siphoning Attacks is Leeching Strikes, which is going to help sustain a lot. So if you're struggling with sustain, definitely take a look at that. This ability bar setup I have right now is just a very strong way of doing it. If you're not really comfortable with playing around with abilities, if you're using a 2H bow setup, this is definitely one way to do it. Now, I'm going to show you guys a little way of doing it if I was to use dual wield. So, I don't think I have... Alright, so let's just pretend my bow bar is going to be my dual wield bar. So we would have Ambush, Surprise Attack, Mass Hysteria, an Execute would be Killer's Blade, and then we want to heal on our front bar, so that will be Resolving Vigor. We're going to keep our Rally on our 2H bar, since we need that. We're also going to keep Shuffle. I'm going to throw on Siphoning Attacks for more sustain. Cloak. And then let's say I throw on Relentless Focus. You can go with Mark Target or Shadow Image, or if you don't want Siphoning Attacks, you could use whatever. So that's kind of how your ability bar would look like if you went with dual wield. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to create your own Stamina Nightblade build. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know in the comment section below. I will gladly answer any questions. If you are working on a build and you're struggling with armor sets you want to choose, or what abilities you need, I'd gladly help you. I can help you in game if you're on PS4 and A, where I can just talk you through it in the comment section of my channel. Anyways, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.